Gravity Falls is an excellent show. No surprises there if you watch my content for a while now, and one of the reasons why I enjoy the show is Grunkle Stan. Now, if you know me personally, you wouldn't think I'd have Stan as my favorite character of the show. He's rather crass, has questionable morality, rather dumb, and sort of the opposite of other characters that I really appreciate like Anne, Luz, or Dipper and Mabel. But all of that is ironically why I enjoy watching Grunkle Stan so much. He's crass, has questionable morality, has rather dumb moments, and acts kind of like the opposite of the other characters that I also appreciate.
God, hot Belgian waffles! Wait, I'm alone. I can swear for real! Son of a...
That's him, all right.
It's confusing to think about, but regardless, you know a show did such an incredible job when it makes an unlikable person on paper turn out to be very likable to the audience. Stan is a character that I actually want to talk about more in another video, but for this one, I do want to discuss one of the attributes I listed earlier, which is his lackluster intelligence. Throughout the show, he is portrayed as someone who is not really intellectually bright, and this was especially the case when Stan's brother, Ford, entered the picture in the last half of Season 2. But is Stanley actually that dumb compared to Stanford? How smart is Stanley Pines? Well, the short answer is it depends on the situation and what time period you are referring to. When we look at Stan and Ford's history in the episode Tale of Two Stans, Ford definitely appeared to be the smarter brother, at least academically. Ford is excellent with math, does excellent research, and managed to complete college and his PhDs in record time. In contrast, Stan is known for doing terribly in school, and judging from this one scene, he probably never finished high school.
But what about our little free spirit Stanley?
That clown? At this rate, he'll be lucky to graduate high school. Look, there's a saltwater taffy store on the dock, and somebody's got to get paid to scrape the barnacles off of it. Stanford's going places. But hey, look on the bright side. At least you'll have one son here in New Jersey forever.
Also, it's not like Stan makes better decisions once he's an adult. His rage cost Ford his dream school and got kicked out of his home because of it.
You ignoramus! Your brother was gonna be our ticket out of this dump! All you ever do is lie and cheat and ride on your brother's coattails. Well, this time you cost our family potential millions! And until you make us a fortune, you're not welcome in this household! What?
When he was on his own, Stan continued to find himself in terrible situations, from being a wanted criminal in multiple states and countries, and putting himself into debt for his failed business scams. In contrast, Ford continues to do well for himself, and his high intellect definitely got him into places and discovered so much within his universe and beyond. He probably ended up in a world full of talking frogs, perhaps. It's wishful thinking, of course, but hey, it's just my personal headcanon, and we have evidence within the show itself, so don't blame me. There are other dumb moments from Stan as well when we look beyond this episode. When he ran for mayor of Gravity Falls, he clearly didn't know how to read the room and just talked with no filter. It's great for comedic effect to the audience watching the show, but not great when trying to win a mayoral campaign which forced Dipper and Mabel to intervene and control Stan's rhetoric. But probably the dumbest thing he did was letting his emotions get the best of him in the moment when they almost defeated Bill using the cipher wheel. Even Stan admits that has to be his biggest screw-up yet.
The kids are gonna die and it's all my fault! Because I couldn't shake your stupid hand! Dad was right about me. I am a screw-up.
There are also smaller dumb moments from Stan too, like how he's not great with romantic relationships, he constantly ignores common safety regulations. Also, he's the type of person who thinks teaching kids how to commit crimes as a family bonding activity was a good idea.
Oh, the county jail is so cold.
Now, I can list off more dumb things that Stan has done over the course of the show, but the thing is, his brother, Ford, despite being referred to as the smarter twin, also made very incompetent decisions. Like Stanley, Ford is not great with relationships, except he's arguably worse because he can't really do friends and family relationships right, especially after he returned from his 30-year absence from his dimension. Ford also lacks some rather basic common sense. For example, he wrote some of his journal entries in rather illogical ways.
Got it. When fighting a gremlin, use water only as a last resort, as water will make him much, much scarier. Who writes sentences like that?
And like Stan, he thought giving kids weapons was a great idea.
It's the cops! Got it!
Also, he was the one who decided to communicate and trust a Dorito-shaped dream demon despite all the visible warnings telling him not to do that. And yet, he had the nerve to scold Stanley for ignoring his warnings in the journals.
This was an insanely risky move, restarting the portal. Didn't you read my warnings?
Warnings, schmornings.
I can explain more about Ford's incompetence, but that GF fan actually made a good video explaining some of Ford's rather questionable decisions. I highly recommend you check it out. The link to it will be in the description. So without a doubt, Stanley may not be that book smart compared to his brother, but Stan definitely has better street smarts. This was especially the case in his later years after Ford got stuck in other dimensions. Over the past 30 years, Stan successfully created a business tricking tourists to be interested in his fake attractions. In fact, Stan in general is really good at tricking people after all of his experience as a con man. He never fell for any of Gideon's tricks. He was able to trick his enemies in the episode Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons. When Stan was arrested by the US government in Not What He Seems, he was able to escape and trick the US agents to go on the wrong trail. Although that moment was more of an indictment on how incompetent those US agents were.
Obviously, follow that cab!
Anyways, the most notable example of Stan's ability to trick people was when he tricked Bill's cipher to enter his mind with his convincing impression of Ford, leading to Bill's permanent defeat, even at the cost of his own memories. In fact, Stan was the one who came up with the idea of having Bill enter his mind. So yeah, Stan was definitely smart when it comes to being a capitalist and taking advantage of people. However, I'm willing to go a step further and say that Stan has some rather high book smarts as well. During Ford's 30-year absence, Stan was doing everything he could to bring his brother back, and the only way to do that is learning how to operate the interdimensional portal that Ford created. While it is likely that the building of the portal itself is a lot harder than actually operating it, I'm fairly certain that Ford has made it very complicated to learn how to use it. For one, you would have to go through Ford's rather complicated and sometimes misleading instructions. Secondly, you would have to decipher a lot of codes and sequences to understand how the machine should be used. Thirdly, to use the portal itself, you likely need to understand how interdimensional technology works. Keep in mind, the only other people we see besides Stanley who were able to turn on and use the portal were Stanford and Fiddleford. Now, I'm not saying that Stan knows as much of the ins and outs of the portal as Ford or McGucket, but for someone who was never that great in school, Stan did very well in reading the journals and learning how to operate sci-fi machines. No other character with that kind of background in the show has been able to do that. Overall, Stan may have some intellectual weaknesses compared to Ford, and without a doubt, Ford's intellectual accomplishments are more impressive compared to Stan's accomplishments. Keep in mind, Ford had to survive in interdimensional limbo for 30 years, which definitely requires some high intelligence. However, it would be wrong to say Stan is an idiot like how the show sometimes paints him as. In reality, Stan can and has done a lot to show that he can make very smart decisions that are key to saving his brother, his family, Gravity Falls, and the world from Bill's cipher. So how smart is Stan Pines? Well, rather damn smart if you ask me. But those are just my thoughts on Stan Pines. Let me know what you guys think of Stanley in the comments below, and please give this video a like and subscribe for more content like this. Also, thanks again to Zeb13, MB Command Nerd, and Matthew Falcon for supporting this channel directly, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. See you in the next one.